Hello, SuperCoaches. Welcome to the preview podcast for the rest of round one. If you're anything like me, you've made a gazillion changes since Team List Tuesday. So many good buys this year. Jett Hatton is with us. You made many changes?
I've made a major one, which is I had Josh Patterson in there the whole preseason. I've flipped to the bloke named in his spot, Arama Howe.
Yeah.
Obviously in front row forward at the moment, which is a nice little spot for him to be, just that fourth front row. Seems like he's won the spot too, so he's a major change I've made.
Yeah, I've got Howe in as well, and this should, by the time you're watching this podcast, it will have flushed through in the game. The dual positions are in, and Howe gets it. He was only front row, but obviously named in the back row, so he gets that one too. The other guys to get dual position are Tino for Arama, gets prop added. Same with Tom Gilbert, gets prop. Kurt Donahue gets hooker added, and Simi Sasangi gets centre added as well. So I don't think it'll unfold like this, but the good old back rower, centre wing, dual position, like the Isaiah Yeo days 5 years ago.
Oh, it's definitely the best dual in the game, isn't it? Even, like, I've had Burbo a few years, and even though he's not a great SuperCoach player, he's just so handy with that dual centre wing back row. So it's always great having blokes like that in your team.
The dual position was one of the clinchers for me on Arama Howe as well. I know a lot of people are just going with nuffs. They've got Miles Martin or someone like that who they can swing around between those two positions. But why not just go with Arama Howe? He was so good in the trials. He really stood out to me in the trials. And I was thinking, why is this guy down the pecking order so much? Clearly he wasn't, because he's overtaken Josh Patterson. The thing with Patterson is that he lost a bit of momentum in the preseason due to that concussion, but he is fit this week. He's been named in Queensland Cup. He's just been dropped, essentially. But once he gets some game time into him, he could easily be back into that side. Job security is not good, but Howe is so cheap, and with that dual position anyway, I think it's worth it because it just frees up so much cash elsewhere.
I think job security is pretty good. The little yarn that the Titans released yesterday on the back of their Team List Tuesday sort of suggested that he'd won the spot out ahead of Josh Patterson. He's probably a better SuperCoach player than Patterson anyway. He scored a try, had a try assist in the latest trial. Looked like an eye catcher to plenty of us. He's in there. I think he's one of those must-have cheapies that, even if he doesn't pan out, you've got a Ryan Couchman sitting there in a few weeks that you can flip to. Same with all these other cheap back rows that you really do.
I think it's an interesting choice from the new coach because Patterson and Arama Howe are just completely different styles of player. Patterson is very defensive-oriented, really solid. It would be a really tight edge that he is defending on. Doesn't take too many runs, wouldn't score too many tries. Then you've got Arama Howe, who's just a blockbuster. He's a tackle buster, an offloader, a try scorer, a real attacking back rower, which I think suits SuperCoach. So for me, he's in.
Yep, me too. It's sort of good too because you got Bo Firma in there, who's that tradesman like back row, and then you need that X factor. Obviously, Bo Firma's got a lot of attacking upside, but with Arama Howe in there, it's nice to see. And he's only 21, so he's got plenty of room to improve as well.
I've made some big changes. Arama Howe's one of them. I've managed to free up some cash to get Munster in, so I've filled in all those positions that are short, i.e. we've only got two players like hooker, halfback, 5'8". I've managed to get guns in all those positions, so Munster's in there, which I like under the new scoring system, particularly at 5'8", because it's just a really bad position. So I feel much more comfortable with Munster in that slot compared to Cody Walker. The way I've freed up that cash, though, is probably more controversial. I've got 5 cheapies at centre wing. Moses Leo's in. I really like him. Plus Chester is already there from last week. Setu 2's already there. Feimani and Makasini. Moses Leo, what are your thoughts on him?
I'm not that keen just because there's a lot of good cheapies there, and I'm not ballsy enough to go just 2 guns in centre wing. I think it's a position with a lot of upside. I brought in Kiraz last week, so that went pretty well. And you feel like you got to have Herbie and Latrell. I don't know about his job security. They got Hugo Peel there. Obviously, Nick Mendy's named on the wing. Played centre the last few years. I don't know. I don't really like Moses Leo. I prefer all the other guys, and I just couldn't run with 2.
I watched him play that NRL game last year, and he's a real tackle buster. He's really good. I think he's got a SuperCoach style of game. Plus, they could throw me or you out into that on the end of that Storm backline, and we would score tries. It's a great spot to be. So I think he's going to get attacking stats plus the tackle busting and the work rate. I think he's good. The big issue I had was that the Zach Lomax court case was taking place yesterday. I was just assuming that Lomax would be allowed to play for the Storm and then Moses Leo would be spiked as a cheapie. But the Eels stood their ground and looks like Lomax won't be there. There could be a deal at any stage. That's the issue though. But for now, I think the job security is good.
Yeah, I just like a few other options. So he's a no for me.
Is he the 5th best cheapie in that position?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because like we saw on the weekend, Tom Chester had an awesome work rate, got out 60. Yeah. Sedu too scored a try. Makasini's a must-have. Who's the other bloke?
Faimani. Yeah, who's got? Yeah, I mean he's got the great work rate too. So
yeah.
I mean he's playable on some weeks.
Yeah.
SuperCoach Plus, I suggest you get in there, play around with it, see who's the most popular captain this week. See where the player ownership stats, there are big changes on a lot of players after the team announcements. Arama Howe, for instance, within an hour last night had gone from 0.5% ownership to 6.5% ownership. I haven't checked him this morning. I reckon he'd be up in double figures for sure. So get into SuperCoach Plus. It's free until the end of round 2. So have a fiddle. Then from there, $29.95 for the year. No-go zone. Players to avoid. Very popular segment on this show. Who's the number one popular player that you have put a line through?
I've got quite a few here. The number one was, because he's most popular, is Jesse Colquhoun. Yeah. I'm obviously a big Sharks man, big Hoheipapuru guy. I think he's going to play a big role in the Sharks attack this year. I think Colquhoun's going to play 45 minutes. And he might make 100, maybe 80K. But for me, it's just, I think there's a lot better buys at front row and second row. And he's very highly owned. I think he's 40% plus ownership. So, I think he's definitely a good player to avoid. And I've got a lot of the elite fullbacks in there as well as no-go zone. You've got people, bringing in Walsh and Tedesco, but I think you're just shooting yourself in the foot if you don't have Kinney and Sewer, Fa'alongo. Like, you've got a bloke who's a 70 average, 200K underpriced in Kinney, and then Fa'alongo's fullback in the Melbourne Storm, a team that you said we could score tries in the outside backs there. So I think, that too. And Nathan Cleary as well, a lot of people go on him. I just think avoid him with a tough draw. Yeah,
I agree on Cleary. I'll go back to Colquhoun. I've put the line through him as well. I think, look, he's a decent buy. He's going to make money, but he's that steady type. I agree, probably 45 minutes. I reckon he's going to average, 45 points. That's okay. It's, essentially 10 points more than what he was scoring last year, so he will go up in price. You've got so many options in the mid-range and as cheapies as well, the guys who particularly popped up yesterday. I like Joe Chan more. I like Jacob Laban more. So there's no room for Colquhoun. The only thing I feel a little bit dirty about with that trade is that I've given up the dual positioning of Colquhoun, which was handy, but I've replaced that with Arama Howe, who's got dual positioning now. So, I agree. Colquhoun, just a bit too steady and won't make quick cash. I want guys who are going to make fast cash. You mentioned Nathan Cleary. I agree 100%. I know you're going to SuperCoach Plus now, and he actually has a really good record against the clubs he's playing. Also, you look at the clubs that he's playing, and it's the toughest draw in the competition by a long way. He scored well against them because they're the Panthers, they won so many premierships in a row. Are the Panthers that good these days? I don't think they quite are. So I think Cleary has more chance of coming down than he is of going up. And you look at the other guys in the position, I think there's guys who have a chance of going up.
Yeah, well, he's priced at his peak, isn't he, Cleary? So even if he does, come out and average 60 through the first 3 or 4 rounds, he's probably going to lose money still because he's priced at his peak. So there's a lot of better options there. Sam Walker, a lot of people targeting. Nico Hines. Obviously, Jaden Campbell's not an option anymore. Even Adam Dewey would be a nice good shout.
Yeah.
So,
I like that, even with the buy in round 1.
Yeah.
Interested to hear your thoughts on Cody Walker. I just mentioned that I've sold him. I've gone with the gun in the position. I think he's just a bit risky with his age and the history of soft tissue injuries. I will be closing my eyes when I watch the ball go to the left-hand side of the field when the Rabbitohs play, because that's a very exciting side. But I feel much more comfortable with Munster there. What are your thoughts on Cody?
I brought him in as soon as I saw him play that last trial against Manly.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked back since. I just think he looked awesome there. And even the way the scoring was on the weekend, all those sort of half line breaks they were getting given. And Cody could get quite a few of those off the back of offloads from David Fafita, Latrell Mitchell, Kalama Tangi. I just think you're silly not to start with Cody Walker. You only need a few good weeks out of him. He's 400k. Comes out and averages 60 to 70. He's going to make bulk cash in a few weeks, and maybe we can go, sideways to a guy like Fletcher Sharp with that 40 in his rolling average when he comes back. So, yeah.
I agree with everything you say. The only counter that I've got is that he was on fire in that trial. 3 line breaks, scored a try, still only got 60 odd points. So that's the counter I've got. It doesn't have that big base that sometimes some guys do.
60 points though, it's still pretty good for a bloke sub 400k.
So. Yeah, it's very handy. Yeah. What about Cameron Murray? I think they're a better. I've gotten rid of him. I think there are better mid-rangers floating around. I still think he's a really good buy. In most other seasons, I'd be having Cameron Murray in my team. It's just a weird year where there are just so many good options.
I got rid of him, but then I got him back in this morning because just looking at that bench at South, it's very favourable to him. You've got Mamazelos in there, who'll spell Bronson Garlic. Who else? Hubner probably plays for the middle. Tallis Duncan could probably plays on the edge for Ewan Aitken. I think he's going to play 60 to 65 minutes, and he's one of the best players in SuperCoach over a long period of time. So 550,000 is very underpriced. And
of course, on the no-go zone, we have Josh Paxton, who was named out of the 19 these days for the Titans. So put a line through him. And Jack Hetherington didn't make the squad either for the Storm, and he's at 20% ownership, or was at 20% ownership.
That's wild.
We've got a new segment on the show. It is called Coach's Edge, brought to you by Tab Wear On. And you're going to like this multi because it basically includes everything that you love about rugby league in one multi. I'll start with Cronulla 13 Plus, which I think is your team name in SuperCoaches.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So Cronulla 13 Plus, I think this is the game to target. The Titans are depleted. There's no Jaden Campbell there. The Sharkies are basically at full strength except for Ronaldo. It's at home for the Sharks. They've got a really good record against the Titans. They've won 11 of their last 12 against the Titans. And in their last 2, they've scored 98 points. So I think it's going to be a bloodbath. That's why I've gone the Sharks 13 plus. In fact, thinking about it now, I should have gone more than 13 plus. Next, I've got your boy Jesse Ramian. Do you have him for SuperCoach this year?
I had him until last Sunday, and I had a bit of cash, and I brought in Jake Carraz, which I'm not too about. He's a great buy, though.
I think he is a good buy. Contract year, been great in the trials. One of the main reasons people are getting on is that he only scored 3 tries last year. I think he's going to improve on that this season, starting with this weekend. So in his last, he's got a great record against the Titans. He's been directly involved in 6 tries across his last 5 games against the Titans, with 3 tries and 3 try assists. So I've got him to score a try. Sharks 13 plus, playing $4.30. Thoughts?
Yeah, well, when I was looking at the podcast plan you sent out last night, I was thinking you've logged into my tab account and gone into the bet slip and gone, oh, geez, this is a good bet that I've already put on. So, no, I agree with it. I think we're going to towel the Titans up. It's a new centre pairing at the Titans as well.
Yeah.
So Jesse Ramian was getting a lot of ball in the trial. Geez, he's in for a big year, and yeah, score a try, 13 plus, $4.30, good bet, I reckon.
I should have gone 20 plus, maybe added another try scorer in there.
Maybe we can, yeah, chuck in Sione Guitar on the same edge or something.
Exactly.
Maybe Britt Nicker as well.
Check out the Same Game Multi in the Tab app. The chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on screen or visit the website. Now, let's talk about Top Guns. I'm keen to hear the expensive players you have in your team and why you chose them. Start with Payne Haas. Assume you've got him and he's captain.
No, Macassini's my captain this week.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, we'll get to that a bit later, but we can get to him. Part of my
for Ponga, I'm assuming.
Callum Ponga, yeah. So I had the VC on him. So Macassini do a job for me this week.
What a man. So Haas is a must-have.
Haas, yep. Yeah. Herbie must-have as well, I think.
Herbie, yeah, I agree. He's got Colbo outside him now as well, so could be even more try assists this year. Obviously, Isaiah Katoa's feeding that left edge, so I think he can maintain. I definitely think he can maintain, even improve what he did last year. Yeah,
it's one of the most lethal left edges in the competition. With the way Isaiah Katoa is on an upwards trajectory too, that edge is only going to improve, and with the new scoring system, it obviously favours Herbie as well. So lock him in.
How about Isaiah Yeo?
Yep.
I think he's a must with the new scoring system. Yep. And with the other guys I've got, Drinkwater's already played. That was a little bit of a failure so far. Hopefully he can get his ribs right. And then I spent up on Stephen Crichton, which I'm quite happy with. He did really well. I think the new scoring system, try assist, the move to the left-hand side suits him with that left-handed flick pass, which he did to Kraz on the weekend. So I'm pretty happy with that so far. And I've also got Angus Crichton.
Okay, yeah.
I think he's going to... Only 4 tries last year, which is way down on what he did the season before. I think he's going to return to somewhere near that form from the season before. Given that he's signed with Union for next season, I think he'll really want to go out with a bang. Plus, they've got that new halves pairing feeding him the ball. I reckon it's going to be a big year for him. New scoring system suits him as well.
Yeah, well, he also had Sam Walker out for half the season last year, and that's such a massive combination. You'd expect Sam Walker plays on the left with Cherry Evans in the team, and he'll feed Crichton a lot of good ball. Other guy I got, as I mentioned earlier, I was umming and ahhing about Stephen Crichton on Sunday because I was like, he's goal kicking. I ended up going with Kraz, which I'm happy with. He's about $750K. I've got Nico Hines in there as one of my more expensive players. Latrell Mitchell as well, and Callum Ponga, which I'm very happy to own. Yep,
indeed. Any love for Reece Walsh?
No. I think you're going to want to have Callum Ponga in your team, just the way he looked on Sunday. And if you don't have Kinney and Sewer, you're doing something wrong. Yeah,
so Reece Walsh, look, consistency is not his strong point.
Yeah.
It's also a pretty tough run for him. I know it doesn't matter who he's playing, he gets up for the big games. But Panthers and Storm in the first 3, throw in the Eels as well, who are, I know they finished lowly last year, but they're actually a pretty good team, I think, this year. So it's a tough run to start. I'm avoiding Walsh. Tino, any love for Tino with the dual positioning? I was thinking that he would improve massively under the new scoring system. He's about even under the new scoring system, which was a surprise to me.
Yeah, I had Kalama Matangi in my team as a placeholder for Tino last week until I was sort of umming and ahhing looking at it, and I was thinking maybe Trey Mooney's just a great second front row forward next to Payne Haas. I think I'm going to stick that way, and I know Tino's a great player, but I just don't want to pay up for him really and have him and Haas. Obviously you can have him in back row, but there's too many good buys at back row. Especially in the mid-range. So, yeah, I think you can just run with Haas and Mooney in front row.
How about from your Sharkies, Kyle Ero?
Yeah, I like Ero. I think Ramien's the better buy at about $200K cheaper. He's going to get more ball than he did last year. We've already spoke about Ramien, but I think if you like Ero, you can definitely have a look at Ramien for a lot cheaper.
Yeah. The thing with Ero is he scored basically a try a game last year.
The first 7 games he did.
Yeah, and there was, I know there's some injury-affected games in there, and he does actually, one of the big beneficiaries actually from the new scoring system, because he's one of the best at the little quick hands to the winger.
Yeah.
But, yeah, at that price, I just can't quite do it. Plus, you've got all these good cheapies there at centre wing, so it's just a no from me, but I could be swayed either way. Cheapie Bible. Let's chat about the guys who are going to make us all the cash. Tom Chester, 62 in base on the weekend, was sensational. A mixture of the Vegas surface just seems to be really fast. There's always a lot of tackles, a lot of runs in that game. Plus, the new scoring system seems to suit him as well with all that base. Satu 2 was really good, even though he only lasted 66 minutes before going off with cramp. I think Pezzit's a must. Feimani is a must. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I've got them on my team. And
so we won't talk about them. We'll just go through some guys who are a bit more contentious. Moses Leo being one of them. We've spoken about him. How about Joe Chan? I have got Joe Chan in my team. I've got him ahead of Adivalu Lasati, who's in almost 40% of teams, I'll point out. Joe Chan's only in 13% of teams. I think Chan is the better cheapie here by a considerable distance. The reason being, I know that we don't quite know how they're going to line up in a couple of weeks when Liero's back and Sean Bloor is back. But, Craig Bellamy's son, who is the assistant coach at the Storm, this is what I know. He did an interview with Tyson Jackson, one of our reporters out there the other day, and he said that Joe Chan has won the right edge back row spot. So that's Eli Katoa's old back row spot. That's enough for me. If you're hearing that from the assistant coach, who is also the son of Craig Bellamy, that's enough for me to lock in Joe Chan in that right edge, probably playing at 60 minutes, maybe even 80 minutes. You've got to lock him in ahead of Lasati. Lasati should not be at 40%. Joe Chan should be at 40%.
Yep, I agree. It should be the other way around. Joe Chan, right edge, back row, outside of Jerome Hughes, just a super coach gold mine. So I've got him in my team, and yeah, I don't think there's any reason not to have him in there.
And I did say in the podcast yesterday that Frank Panisi said that quote. It wasn't him. It was Bellamy's son, Aaron Bellamy. Apologies for that, but it has been said. Jacob Laban, do you like him? He's got that starting spot ahead of your boy Leka Halasima, which you're probably not too happy about. But if he's got it ahead of Leka, he looks like a serious player. This kid, he's only 21, looks good. I don't hate it.
He's got a lot of ability, that's for sure. But Leka the wrecker breathing down his neck, you can't have any confidence picking him there. Like, Leka's their future, an absolute superstar. You wouldn't think he plays off the bench for the whole year. I guess there's a wait and see with Laban. We can watch how his minutes go after the first 2 rounds, and if he's playing big minutes and he's got a good output, we can always bring him in. So that's what I'm going to do with Laban.
Arama Howe, we both own. Noah Martin was named to start for the Raiders in what was an absolute bolter, really. He was only in 0.4% of teams at the time that happened. I don't like it. You got Nicholson playing New South Wales Cup, but Ricky, his quotes are along the lines of he's just playing New South Wales Cup to get some games in him because he missed the last bit of the preseason with a shoulder injury. So presumably he comes back in, probably starts. Noah Martin goes out of the team altogether, and then they've got the backup in Zach Hosking on the bench who can play middle and can play on edge if they need him, but looks like they want to play him in the middle this year mostly. Yeah,
don't be fooled by Noah Martin. Obviously, he's a good player and got a lot of upside, but yeah, Matty Nicholson's one of the better back rowers on the team, same with Zach Hosking. So.
And one of the greatest mullets up there with Fletcher Sharp's mullet. Him and Fletcher Sharp, you could barely tell the difference between them.
Yeah.
Benaya and Aiello, you've still got him in your team? Roosters?
I don't actually. I went up to Reed Marnie last week just because I'm just not sure how many minutes he'll play. Reece Robson could be back anywhere from round 3 to round 7. So even if he does play good minutes, maybe we only get one or two price rises out of him, and it's probably not going to be that much. So that's why I decided with Reed Marnie just as a safer option.
Yeah, as soon as Peyton came out and said that Reed Marnie's playing 80 minutes, I switched up to him. I'm relatively happy with it because he got that 50-odd points with no attacking stats.
Yeah.
So, but I still think if you don't want to just run with Brandon Smith, which I think is a good tactic, even though he's going to miss at least 2 rounds, the best cheaper replacement at hooker is Aiello. If you want to go that way. Personally, I'll just go with Brandon Smith. I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah, I would have gone with Reed last week, but if you've got that, you probably will just have to go with Brandon Smith.
Ethan Sanders, good to see him named. He didn't trial, so it's our first look at him this weekend. So if you didn't go Daniel Atkinson last week, you'll be going Sanders this week.
Yeah, you might feel good about it too because Atkinson didn't set the world alight, really. 30-something points. Obviously, it was a low-scoring game in Vegas, but yeah, you can't really go wrong with either of them, really.
Cooper Bye, extremely popular. I feel like he should be coming down a bit now that we've got a lot of cheapie options. He's up over 40% at the moment. Playing from the bench, I know the eye test is good, but I don't think the minutes are going to be good. So he's going to be one of the slower burns. Pretty safe on the job security side, but I think there are better options than Bye at the moment.
Yeah, you'll be in my team at some stage, just not early days.
Taniela Paseka, I think, is a lock. Just lock that in. He's going to average. He's averaged 50 over his career as a starting prop. I'm expecting that to continue this year, in which case we see some huge price rises. The guy who I liked from the team announcements was Tom Flegler, who I initially thought would get eased back very slowly from this shoulder injury. Came out in the trials, was brilliant, scored a try in one of them, looked sensational. He scored a starting spot for round 1. Daniel Safidi's going to get eased back. He's coming back from a shoulder injury as well. Oh, sorry, Jacob Safidi. One of the Safidis.
No, it is Daniel.
It's Daniel.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Tom Flegler is very close to being in my SuperCoach team.
Yeah, he is named to start, but he could also get eased back still. Like, he still could play 30, 35 minutes. There are a lot of middles there that can play big minutes. Tom Gilbert can. Yeah, he's a wait and see for me. Like, it's nice to see him starting there, but I wouldn't be guaranteed that he plays 40, 45 minutes. Like, he was playing that at his peak, really, so, yeah.
How about Ryan Couchman in Vegas? I was expecting him to play 20 minutes off the bench, probably on an edge. He ended up playing huge minutes, mostly in the middle, made 45 tackles, 71 SuperCoach points. There was lots of reasons why he got improved minutes. There was a head knock for Moses Sully, which meant that Fee and I had to come onto the field. Setu too finished the game early with cramps. There was so much going on in that game, plus no Jacob Little, of course. So the minutes are inflated, definitely, but one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, well, my racing colleague Clinton Payne is a mad Dragons fan, and he knows that I'm a big fan of Toby Couchman. And for the last 6 months, he's just been telling me that Ryan Couchman, he's the better Couchman. And Toby's like a tradesman. Like, this guy's got attacking flair and upside. And geez, if he gets a big role, I think he's gonna be like Toby Couchman in SuperCoach, but maybe a bit better, judging by everything that Clint says. And he's got this one right. I think Ryan Couchman's a proper player, and I'm going to be looking to get him in round 3 if all goes well in round 2 with him.
Well, he was ahead of Toby Couchman at one stage before doing his ACL. How about the motor on both of these kids? They just get through so much work. Both coming back from serious injuries as well. The shoulder reco for Toby and the knee reco for Ryan, and it comes out and bangs out 45 tackles. You love to see it. Guilty pleasure. This is the player you shouldn't buy, but you can't help yourself.
I don't really have anyone this week. I really like my team. I think everyone that I picked in my team's a logical buy. I don't have any guilty pleasures this week.
I love my team as well, but everyone loves their team. There's so many good buys everywhere. I think one of the keys to take into consideration is when you look at your side, even your guns. Often I pick guns thinking, yep, if he maintains his price, that's fine. I'm looking at my guns this year and I'm thinking, this guy actually has to improve his price to be worthy of being in my side.
Yeah.
But my guilty pleasure is actually Kaloa Matangi, who I'm desperate to get into my team, but it would mean having to go really cheap, taking a big risk on one of the cheapies, or getting rid of Munster. So I don't know if I could quite fit Kaloa Matangi in. What do you think?
Yeah, you have to get the helicopter out, mate, to get him in. I like Kaloa Matangi. I like him, but I just think, I don't know, I'm pretty set on Trey Mooney as my second front row forward with Payne Haas. Yeah. Obviously, you got to pay up for Kaloa Matangi quite a bit.
It's drama.
But I can't knock Kaloa Matangi as a buy.
All right, pod of the year. This is your time to shine. You've always got a couple of good ones up your sleeve.
Yeah, well, the guy that I had in my team yesterday and this morning, and I still might have him in instead of Cameron Murray, is Blake Steep.
Oh, I've got it written down as well.
I just think he's a proper player, and just the way that the bench looks for the Roosters. Connor Watson will probably spell Uelu. Nat Butcher starting a back row, and Siwa Wong's on the bench. So you think Siwa Wong comes on, plays edge, Nat Butcher moves into the middle. Who else they got? They've got a few outside backs in there. They've got Spencer who'll play middle. I think Blake Steep's going to play 55, 60 minutes. We saw last year when he did that, he averaged 65. So I reckon while Victor Radley's out, and I think when Victor Radley comes back, I might have talked myself back into him, to be honest. He's going to play on the edge where Nat Butcher is. I think Steep's the future of their club. I think he's a proper player. Port Macquarie Shark. Yeah. One of those. They used to beat us in junior footy growing up, so shout out to them. I like Blake Steep a lot. I think I might have just talked myself into him.
Yeah, I really like him. Mark Barnes, who was on the pod yesterday, was talking about him. 1.1% ownership. I think he does get at least 50 minutes. And his PPM plus the new scoring system, basically going to average 60. He could go from 390 odd K to being a borderline keeper, which I like. I also like Nat Butcher. He's averaged... So his last 3 seasons before last season, where he was injured basically the whole year, he averaged 55, 63 and 57. Priced on an average of about 40. You're looking at some serious rises for him too. So a bit of a gold mine there. Most people are on Siwa Wong. He's the more popular. I'll be getting rid of Wong, going either Steep or Butcher.
Yeah, I don't mind Butcher as a shout. What about Beau Fermor? Will he kick goals with Jaden Campbell? He kicked goals in the preseason. That's actually a good point. I hadn't even thought of that. Could Beau Fermor kick goals when Jaden Campbell... Like, he could be a nice little early play. For
the first 2 to 4 rounds.
I don't know who's going to kick goals. And he was kicking goals in the preseason, or at some stage.
He definitely
I've
kicked
seen him
a bit
kick
last
goals
year.
before.
Yeah, I mean, he kicks towards the goals. I don't know if he kicks too many of them. But he...
Maybe
we'll look into... I will look into that for late mail, because that's a good point.
He could be a nice little shout.
Yep, definitely. Captaincy, Haas... He's only at 35.3%, which I actually think is low. I was expecting it to be about 50%. I think you have to lock him in. Yeah. But you're not.
Well, I had it on Haas until Kalen Ponga came out and looked like vintage Kalen Ponga. So I'm happy to lock in his 116. So well done, Makasini. He hasn't played a game yet, but he's earned me a lot of points by becoming my captain. So
Cleary's at 12%. Don't quite agree with that. It's a tough matchup for them against the Bronx.
Yeah. He can probably knock out 70 and be safe. I think Haas is just as safe. especially in round one. You don't want to get your captaincy wrong and be left behind. So.
If I was going to go anyone, take a bit of a punt, I would go Nico at only 4.1% up against the Titans at home. I think he's guaranteed a big score in that. He's been really good in the trials, banging out mid-60s without even really doing anything. So you add a try assist or a try, something here or there, should be able to bang out at least 80, on his ear. Should easily be able to get 80, hopefully a bit more.
Yeah. What about Munster? Have you considered Munster, bringing him into your team?
I've got him, as a captain.
Option.
Who have they got again? Eels.
Eels tomorrow night.
Yeah. It's at Amy Park, isn't it? So
yeah, they're round one.
And they just kill it. Round one
so
record's
good.
Great. Amy Park record is sensational. They brained them off 50
last year early,
and their record against the Eels is sensational as well. The issue I've got is I actually think the Eels are going to be pumped up and galvanised by this court case, the club standing up for the playing group, knocking back 700K. I actually think the Eels will be good, and they showed some really good signs at the end of last year. Plus, it's Jason Riles against his old club. Actually, I reckon the Eels are going to fire up.
I reckon they're going to get absolutely towed.
They're going to get towed. All right, well, there we go.
Yeah, so.
Teddy against the Wires is a pretty good shout too.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for our preview podcast. We'll catch you next week for the round 2 teams. Good luck on the week.